She didn't leave you, she deconstructed you. Every word she spoke was not a reason, but a scalpel, carefully slicing away the layers of the man you pretended to be, until all that was left was the trembling, needy child beneath. You think this is about a broken heart? That is a romantic illusion for poets and fools. This was not a heartbreak. This was a strategic demolition. She didn't just walk out the door. She exposed the fatal flaw in your entire operating system. Your value was never your own. It was a loan, and she just called in the debt, leaving you bankrupt. You're replaying the moments, the conversations, searching for the one mistake, the wrong turn that led you to this abyss. Was it something you said? Something you did? You were searching for a tactical error in a war you had already lost before the first shot was fired. The battle was lost the moment you made her approval the center of your gravity. The moment her smile became your sun and her frown your winter. You handed her the controls to your emotional state, and you are now shocked that she chose to flip the switch. This isn't just about her. Look back. Look at the ghosts of every woman who came before. Do you see the pattern? It's the same story, the same desperate audition for a role you were never meant to play. You became a chameleon, changing your colors, your opinions, your very essence to match whatever you thought she wanted to see. You presented a carefully curated version of yourself, a representative, hoping she would fall in love with the mask. But a mask has no life of its own. It cannot be loved. It can only be used and, eventually, discarded when it is no longer useful. The German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer, a man who looked into the abyss of human existence and did not blink, would have no sympathy for your plight. He would see it not as a tragedy, but as a predictable, mechanical outcome. He observed that the fundamental driving force of all life is the will, a blind, insatiable, irrational striving. Her rejection of you was not a rational judgment of your worth. It was simply her will colliding with yours. She desired something else, and you were in the way. You are agonizing over the verdict of a judge who was never impartial, in a court that was never fair. You are a pawn in the service of her desires, and when your utility expired, you were swept from the board. The silence in the room after she delivered the final blow, do you remember it? It was not an absence of sound, it was a presence. A heavy, suffocating thing that filled your lungs and crushed your ribs. You watched her face, searching for a flicker of doubt, a crack in her resolve, but you found only a calm, chilling certainty. It was the look of a person who had already made the decision weeks, maybe months ago. You were simply the last to know. You were an actor performing on an empty stage, long after the audience had gone home. Every memory you cherished, every shared laugh, every intimate moment, in that instant, she recontextualized all of it. It was no longer a shared history. It was evidence of your delusion. You were a project, a temporary comfort, a placeholder until her real life began. The most devastating part is the quiet humiliation that follows. The knowledge that while you were dreaming of a future, she was planning an escape. While you saw a partner, she saw an obstacle. This is the core of your suffering. It is not her absence that haunts you, but the brutal, undeniable truth of your own insignificance in the grand narrative of her life. You were a footnote in a chapter she was eager to finish, and now you are left to wonder how you can ever trust your own judgment again. How can you rebuild a world when the architect was a fool and the foundation was a lie? This feeling of worthlessness is the prison she left you in, but she did not build it. You did. You built it over years of seeking validation, of outsourcing your self-esteem, of believing that another person could complete you. Before we begin the work of turning this prison into a fortress, you must first commit to the war. This is not a journey of healing. It is a campaign of reconstruction. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion and activate all notifications. Every piece of content here is a weapon, a strategy, a tool for forging an unbreakable will. Give this video a like to declare that your days of being a psychological subordinate are over. And in the comments below, write the city or country you are watching from. and the one word that describes the lesson your last rejection taught you. Let us map the territory of this shared battle. Your transformation from the dismantled man to the architect of your own reality begins now. The pain you feel is not a weakness. It is raw, unrefined power. And Schopenhauer didn't just offer a diagnosis for your suffering. He left behind the blueprint for the cure. The methodical cultivation of an indifference so profound, it borders on godhood. Your downfall was not a singular event. It was a process, a slow, methodical erosion of your authority, executed with such subtlety that you mistook your own capitulation for compromise and your surrender for love. You think her departure was the cataclysm, but the city was already in ruins long before the final wall came down. You were merely the last to notice the smoke. We must now perform a cold, strategic autopsy on this failure. There is no room for sentiment here. Sentiment is the poison that led you to this point. We will dissect your defeat, moment by moment, concession by concession, so that you may finally understand the mechanics of your own demolition. The battlefield was your relationship, and your mind was the territory you willingly ceded to the enemy. Schopenhauer would not see this as a love story gone wrong. He would see it as a predictable outcome of a fundamental misunderstanding of power. You operated under the delusion that relationships are built on harmony and mutual appeasement. Schopenhauer understood that all of existence is a clash of wills, blind, irrational, striving forces, each seeking its own gratification. Her will was not malicious. It was simply being what it is, a force of nature. It sought to expand, to dominate, to test the boundaries of its environment. Your will, in turn, was meant to be the countervailing force, the bedrock against which her tests would break. Instead, you offered it sand. You believed that by accommodating her will, you could earn her affection. What you actually did was demonstrate your own weakness, proving that your reality was negotiable and, therefore, worthless. The first strategic error, the one from which all others followed, was your initial emotional concession. Think back. It began small. She was upset about a minor inconvenience, a canceled dinner plan, a comment you made that she misinterpreted, a social event you didn't want to attend. Her mood shifted. The atmosphere grew cold. You felt that palpable drop in pressure, and your instinct, conditioned by a lifetime of seeking approval, was to fix it, to restore the equilibrium. You saw her displeasure not as her problem to manage, but as your responsibility to solve. So you apologized when you had done nothing wrong. You changed your plans to suit her whim. You validated her disproportionate emotional reaction because you were terrified of the discomfort her disapproval created. She tested. You yielded. She won. In that moment, a critical precedent was set. You taught her that her emotional state held veto power over your logic, your plans, and your own sense of self. You handed her the keys to your nervous system. From then on, all she had to do was jangle them, and you would come running. Let's be ruthlessly practical. A man who has cultivated his inner fortress handles this differently. When she presents an emotional storm, he does not become the storm. He is the lighthouse. He observes the waves. He acknowledges their power, but he is not moved. Imagine the scene. She is angry because you are going out with your friends on a Friday night, something you have always done. The weak man's path is predictable. First, he gets defensive, trying to justify his actions. But I always do this, you knew this. This is a plea for her to be logical, a fatal error when confronting an emotional test. Her test is not about logic, it's about power. When defensiveness fails, he moves to appeasement. Okay, I won't go. We can do something else. What do you want to do? He cancels his plans, betrays his own word to his friends, and signals that her emotional comfort is more important than his integrity. The final stage is a resentful, passive-aggressive submission. He stays home, but the air is thick with his silent bitterness, a weakness that is even more pathetic than his initial surrender. The strategic man, The man operating from a Schopenhauerian understanding of the will sees this test for what it is. It is an unconscious probe from her will to determine the strength of his. His response is calm, firm, and unbreachable. He does not get defensive. He does not argue. He states his reality. I understand you're upset that I'm going out tonight. We can spend all day together tomorrow. My plans for tonight are set. Notice the structure. He acknowledges her feeling. I understand you're upset, which prevents her from escalating by claiming he's insensitive. But he does not validate the legitimacy of her trying to control him. He does not apologize. He simply separates her emotional state from his reality. Then, he presents a logical alternative for connection. We can spend time together tomorrow, showing he values her, but on his terms. Finally, he reaffirms his boundary with absolute certainty. My plans for tonight are set. There is no negotiation in his voice. He is not asking for permission. He is informing her of a fact. He then proceeds with his evening, unmoved. He is the lighthouse. The storm can rage, but the light does not flicker. This is the first and most crucial battle. By winning it, you establish that your frame is non-negotiable. By losing it, you begin the long, humiliating slide into the second phase of your defeat, the loss of control through the relentless pursuit of validation. Once you proved that your internal state was for sale, she began to buy it cheaply and often. Having lost your own center of gravity, you tried to find it in her. Her opinion became your compass. This is the validation trap, and it is where your identity went to die. It started with small questions. Do you like this shirt? Is this a good idea? What do you think I should do? On the surface, these seem like harmless inquiries, the currency of a connected couple. But look at the subtext. You are not seeking an opinion. You are seeking permission. You are outsourcing your decision-making. You are communicating that you do not trust your own judgment. Schopenhauer observed that man's primary struggle is with the ceaseless, tormenting striving of his own will. The validation seeker tries to escape this struggle by subordinating his will to another's. He believes that if he can just figure out what she wants and give it to her, he will find peace. This is a catastrophic miscalculation. Her will, like all wills, is a bottomless pit of desire. It can never be satisfied. The more you feed it, the hungrier it becomes. This plays out in every area of your life. At work, you get a promotion. Instead of feeling a self-contained sense of pride, your first instinct is a desperate need to see her reaction. Her excitement becomes the proof of your success. If she is lukewarm or distracted, the achievement turns to ash in your mouth. You have made her the arbiter of your worth. In social situations, you tell a joke. Your eyes don't scan the group to see who laughed. They dart to her face. Did she approve? Did she smile? Her reaction dictates whether the joke was funny. You have made her the sole member of your audience. You became a performer, and your life was a desperate audition for a role she had no intention of casting. She tested you, and you failed. Every time you asked for her opinion on something you should have decided for yourself, you failed. Every time you modified your behavior, your speech, or your beliefs to preempt her disapproval, you failed. You were so busy trying to be the man you thought she wanted, you forgot to be a man at all. No one is coming to save you. This belief that another person can or should validate your existence is the source of all your misery. The man of substance validates himself. His actions are guided by his own principles, his own purpose. He wears the shirt he likes. He pursues the career that fulfills him. He tells the joke he finds funny. He welcomes her presence in his life, but he does not require her approval for his existence. If she approves, it is a pleasant addition. If she disapproves, it is an irrelevant data point. Her opinion is weather. He is the mountain. This is not arrogance. It is self-possession. It is the understanding that the only validation that matters is the one that comes from the mirror. Your constant search for her approval was not a sign of love, it was a symptom of your own emptiness. You tried to use her to fill a void that only you can fill. She sensed this void, this vacuum at your core, and like any force of nature, she abhorred it. A woman cannot respect a man she can command, and she cannot desire a man she does not respect. Your need for her validation was the clearest possible signal that you were not in command of yourself. This leads directly to the third and most agonizing phase, affective dependency. At this stage, you are no longer an independent entity. You are an emotional satellite, caught in her gravitational pull. Your well-being is completely dependent on her mood, her attention, her presence. This is where her silence becomes her most potent weapon. Her silence is dominance, not inattention. When you were secure in yourself, her silence was just silence. Now, it is a referendum on your entire being. She doesn't answer a text for 2 hours. The old you would not have noticed. The new you, the dependent you, enters a state of panic. Your mind constructs elaborate narratives of disaster. She's angry. What did I do? She's losing interest. She's with someone else. You check your phone every 30 seconds. Your focus is shattered. Your productivity plummets. Your entire emotional state is held hostage by 3 little dots on a screen. She is not even actively doing anything, yet she has complete and total control over you. She is dominating you with her absence. A man who understands the game sees this for what it is, either a deliberate test of his emotional stability or the simple fact that she is busy attending to her own life. In either case, the correct strategic response is the same: indifference. He sends the text, then puts his phone away and directs his focus to his work, his workout, his purpose. Her reply, when it comes, is an interruption to his mission, not the mission itself. He trains her, through his own behavior, that his emotional state is not contingent on her response time. The dependent man does the opposite. He cracks. He sends a second text. Is everything okay? Then a third. Did I say something wrong? He is begging for a response, for a scrap of attention to soothe his self-inflicted anxiety. He is a junkie, and she is his dealer. She learns that by withholding the drug of her attention, she can make him do anything. This dependency culminates in the final, pathetic act of surrender, breaking the silence. This is the moment you confront her, not from a position of strength or to enforce a boundary, but as a beggar pleading for emotional scraps. The argument has been brewing. She has been distant, cold. You have been walking on eggshells, desperately trying to be good, to win back her warmth. But the silence is unbearable. So you approach her with the posture of a supplicant. "We need to talk," you say, your voice betraying your desperation. You ask her what's wrong, and you are prepared to accept any indictment she delivers. Whatever the problem is, you are already prepared to believe it is your fault. She explains that she feels unheard, or that you are not present. These are vague, untestable accusations designed to put you on the defensive. Instead of demanding specifics, you accept the premise of your own guilt. And then comes the final, fatal blow. You apologize. "I'm sorry," you say. "I'll do better." When you apologized, you signed your surrender. You took responsibility for her feelings. You confirmed that her internal state is your fault, and, therefore, your problem to fix. You have just validated her entire frame and obliterated your own. The war is over. You have unconditionally surrendered. Now, I know the objections brewing in your mind, but a good partner listens to concerns. Isn't compromise about apologizing when you're wrong? You are clinging to the comforting lies of a society that has sold you a broken model of masculinity. Let's dismantle these objections with the brutal logic they deserve. Listening to concerns is not the same as accepting blame for feelings. A strong man can listen to her say, "I feel distant from you," and respond with, "I'm sorry to hear you feel that way. What actions have led you to that conclusion?" He forces her to move from vague feelings to concrete facts. He does not accept the emotional charge. He investigates the data. More often than not, there is no data. It is a fleeting feeling, a test, or a projection. As for compromise, you cannot compromise on your own spine. Apologizing when you have objectively wronged someone is a mark of character. Apologizing for her feelings, for her interpretations, or for failing one of her unstated, unwinnable tests is not character. It is prostration. It is the act of a slave, not a partner. Your fall did not happen in the final argument. It happened in the 1,000 silent moments of hesitation. It happened every time you swallowed your own opinion to avoid a conflict. It happened every time you said yes, out of fear, when your entire being screamed no. It happened when you chose her comfort over your own integrity. You think she left you because of something you did. She left you because of who you became. You became a reflection, a ghost, a hollow man whose only purpose was to manage her emotions. And no woman can desire a man who has made her his god. She does not want to be worshipped. She wants to be with a man who worships his own purpose so fiercely that she is inspired to join him on his quest. This diagnosis is harsh because it must be. You have been living under a powerful delusion, and the only cure is an equally powerful dose of reality. You must see the pattern not just in this last relationship, but in all of them. You must see that you were the architect of your own prison. But the good news is that the architect can also be the demolisher. The first step is to see the cage for what it is. If this cold, hard truth is resonating with the man you know you were meant to be, then it's time to commit to the reconstruction. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion, hit the like button to signal your declaration of independence, and activate all notifications, because every video is another tool, another weapon for your arsenal. Now I want you to answer this in the comments below with complete honesty. What was the one thing you apologized for in your last relationship that you knew, in your soul, was not your fault? Let's expose the surrenders so we can begin to build the victories. The man who was deconstructed can rebuild himself into a fortress. But first, he must see every brick of his old prison and understand why it crumbled. There is no return for the weak. There is only the construction of the new. The man you were is a casualty of war, a monument to a failed strategy. Do not mourn him. Do not try to salvage the wreckage. Your task now is not to heal, but to rebuild from the ground up, using superior materials and a ruthless architectural plan. This is not an emotional journey of finding yourself. This is a cold, tactical operation of forging yourself. The commands for this new campaign are simple and absolute. First, cut the excess. Every emotional attachment, every lingering memory, every thread of hope is a liability. It is dead weight that will slow your ascent. Second, install silence. Silence is not an absence of sound. It is the presence of power. It is the void into which her certainty collapses. Third, control the reaction. Your emotions are no longer your own to indulge. They are strategic assets to be deployed, or, more often, to be held in reserve. You will become the master of your internal state, a fortress of calm in the face of the chaos you will create. The first operational phase is the immediate and total reinstatement of scarcity. This is not the weak-willed, no-contact rule you read about in magazines, a pathetic gambit designed to make her miss you. That is a beggar's tactic. This is a strategic disappearance. You will vanish from her reality completely and without warning. No final text. No dramatic announcement. No blocking on social media, which is a loud, emotional act of a wounded child. You simply cease to exist in her world. You become a ghost. This act serves two tactical purposes. Primarily, it severs her access to your emotional state. She can no longer gauge your pain, your progress, or your position. You have blacked out her intelligence network. Secondly, it creates a psychological vacuum. Her entire dynamic with you was based on your predictable availability. Your constant presence, even as a rejected man, was a source of comfort and validation for her, proof of her power. By removing yourself entirely, you take that power back. You are no longer the moon orbiting her planet. You have become a black hole that has just disappeared from the known universe. Her mind, which abhors a vacuum, will be forced to confront your absence. But not in the way you hope. She will not immediately miss you. She will be confused, then annoyed, then perhaps intrigued. Let her be. Your objective is not to win her attention, but to reclaim your own. Be the absence that weighs, not the presence that begs. The second phase is the weaponization of silence. In the event that she attempts to breach your perimeter, a text, a call, a message through a mutual friend, you must understand that this is a probe. It is a test to see if the old, subordinate man is still there. Your response will determine the future of the power dynamic. The weak man's instinct is to reply instantly, a surge of pathetic hope flooding his system. He sees her message as an opportunity. It is not. It is a trap. The strategic man sees it as an intrusion, a low-priority notification that distracts from the mission. Imposing silence is how you dominate the exchange. If a response is absolutely necessary for logistical reasons, it must be delayed, brief, and devoid of all emotion. Your response time should be measured in hours or days, not minutes. Your words should be tactical, not emotional. She sends a paragraph asking how you are. You wait a day and reply, "All good. Busy." She asks a question. You answer it with the bare minimum of words required and ask nothing in return. You are not having a conversation. You are processing a data request. You are a government agency responding to a civilian inquiry. You are stone. You are ice. You teach her, through cold, hard conditioning, that communication with you is now a privilege, and one that is earned through her effort, not given freely through your neediness. Do not reconquer. Replace with a sharper silence. This leads to the third phase, minimal and unpredictable interaction. Your behavior must become a strategic enigma. The man she knew was predictable. He was an open book, and she had read every page 100 times. The new man is a locked diary written in a language she cannot comprehend. Your patterns must be shattered. If you used to post on social media every day, you now post once a week. Or not at all. And when you do, it is never about your feelings. It is a cold, hard display of your mission's progress. You are not trying to make her jealous. That is a game for children. You are building a public record of your ascent, a testament to a life so compelling that she is not even a footnote. Your life becomes a one-man show to which she does not have a ticket, but can only hear the roaring applause from outside. You are a train that has left the station, and she is standing on the platform, realizing the schedule has changed, and no one bothered to inform her. These defensive maneuvers are merely the prelude to the main offensive, the relentless and total focus on the 4 pillars of hierarchical dominance. This is where you redirect every ounce of energy you once wasted on her into the forging of a superior version of yourself. First, the physical. The gym is not a place for therapy. It is your forge. Every drop of sweat is weakness, leaving the body. You will build a physique that commands respect before you ever speak a word. It is a physical manifestation of discipline and power. Second, the financial. Your career and your income are your war chest. You will attack your work with a singular, monastic focus. Your ambition is not about buying things to impress her. It is about building a level of freedom and power so absolute that your options become limitless. Third, the social. You will cultivate a network of high-value men. You will be seen in places of influence. Your social life will not be a distraction, but a strategic expansion of your territory. You become a man of consequence, whose time and attention are valuable commodities. Fourth, the symbolic. This is the realm of knowledge and culture. You will read the books that shape minds. You will master skills that set you apart. You will cultivate a mind so sharp, an intellect so formidable, that small talk becomes an insult to your intelligence. Schopenhauer noted that the will is a blind, ceaseless striving. Your suffering came from directing your will's striving toward her, a futile and unwinnable objective. The Reconstruction is about redirecting that immense force inward. You are no longer striving for her approval. You are striving to become a force of nature yourself. You are not fixing your flaws to win her back. You are incinerating your old self to build a man who would never have been with her in the first place. A man who wants to be loved will be discarded. A man who imposes his presence, who builds a reality so powerful it warps the world around him, will be feared. And fear is a much more stable foundation for respect than affection. This is the plan. Not a hope, not a prayer, but a sequence of tactical operations. Each step is designed to dismantle her power over you and construct your own. If you are ready to stop being the victim of your history and start being the architect of your future, then your campaign begins now. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion and activate all notifications, for this is your new command center. Give this video a like as a sworn oath to your own reconstruction, and answer this question in the comments. Of the 4 pillars of power, the physical, the financial, the social, or the symbolic, which one have you neglected the most? And what is the first tactical step you will take this week to fortify it? Your answer is not just a comment. It is your first written order in your own personal war. The silence you are about to impose on her world will be deafening. It will be the sound of a new empire being built upon the ruins of an old one, an empire of one, your empire. The final stage of your campaign is not victory. Victory implies the war still mattered. The final stage is transcendence. It is the point where the enemy is no longer a strategic consideration, because the territory you fight for has fundamentally changed. You are no longer fighting for her respect, or for the validation of the world she occupies. You are fighting for the sovereignty of your own reality, a reality so complete and self-contained that her opinion becomes as relevant as the whisper of a distant wind. This is not about getting her back. It is about reaching a state of being where you would no longer want the version of yourself that she could have. This is the final demolition, the demolition of the need itself. The moment will come. It always does. The universe, in its cold and impartial way, enjoys testing the strength of new foundations. You will see her. It will not be dramatic. It will be mundane. Across a crowded room, in a grocery store aisle, at a traffic light, in that microsecond, the ghost of the old man will stir within you. The phantom limb of your former neediness will ache. A jolt of adrenaline, a tightening in your chest, the biological echo of 1,000 past surrenders. The weak man's programming will urge you to react. To look away quickly, a gesture of fear. To stare too long, a gesture of defiance. To orchestrate a path to avoid her, or worse, a path to accidentally cross hers. These are all the panicked moves of a pawn who still thinks he is playing her game. But you are no longer a pawn. You are not even a player. You have transcended the game itself. You will feel that initial biological flicker, and you will simply observe it, as Schopenhauer would observe the blind striving of the will. You will see it as a mechanical process, a leftover piece of code from an obsolete operating system. You do not fight it. You do not indulge it. You simply let it pass, a cloud crossing the face of a mountain. And then, there is only stillness. You do not look away. You do not stare. Your gaze might pass over her, but it registers her with the same emotional weight as it registers the chair she is sitting in, or the painting on the wall behind her. She is simply an object in your field of vision, a data point without a value assigned to it. If she approaches, you do not tense up. You do not prepare a script. The fortress you have built is not made of walls to keep others out. It is the very substance of your being. It needs no defense because there is nothing to attack. She will speak. Her words will be a test, a probe sent to find the cracks in your new armor. "You look great," she might say, a statement designed to make you preen, to seek her approval one last time. The old you would have stumbled, either with a clumsy thank you or a bitter remark. The new you simply gives a slight, almost imperceptible nod. Your response is not verbal. It is an energy of calm, dispassionate neutrality. You are polite, as you would be to any stranger who asked you for the time. Your answers to her questions are brief, factual, and lead nowhere. You are a conversational dead end. You do not ask about her life, not out of spite, but out of a genuine and total lack of curiosity. Her world, her dramas, her victories, they are a story being told in a language you no longer speak. This is the moment of her true defeat. It is not when you hang up the phone or block her number. It is in this face-to-face encounter where she looks into your eyes, searching for the wounded boy she left behind, and finds nothing. No anger, no pain, no longing. Just a profound, unbreachable peace. An indifference so complete it is almost inhuman. She will realize that her greatest weapon, her ability to dictate your emotional state, has been disarmed. It has not been broken. It has been rendered obsolete. You cannot hurt a man who does not register your existence on an emotional level. You cannot manipulate a man whose internal reality is more powerful than any reality you can present to him. She thought the game was chess, and she was proud of checkmating you. She now looks at the board and realizes you are not the opposing king. You are the man who owns the building the chessboard is in, and you are about to turn off the lights. This is not revenge. Revenge is a hot, emotional act. It is a confession that the other person still matters enough to be punished. This is erasure. It is a cold, logical outcome. You have redirected the immense, striving force of your will away from the futile pursuit of her validation and into the construction of your own empire. An empire of the physical, the financial, the intellectual. You became the architect, the builder, and the king of a world of your own making. And in this world, she has no citizenship. She has no relevance. Her memory is not a painful scar. It is an archived file from a forgotten project. You did not just flip the board. You sold the board, bought the table, and left the game to build a reality where you are the only rulemaker. Respect is not something you ask for. It is not something you negotiate. It is the inevitable consequence of power, and the ultimate power is self-possession, the ability to own your emotional state so completely that no external force can perturb it. You command respect not by what you say, but by what you do not need to say. You command it with your absence, with your silence, with the undeniable evidence of a life being lived on a higher plane of purpose. The pain she caused was a gift. It was the fire that burned away the weak, needy man you were, clearing the ground for the fortress you were always meant to build. This is the final command. Stop hoping for her to see your worth, and start building a worth so self-evident that her seeing it is irrelevant. This is your declaration of sovereignty. To make this commitment real, subscribe to Psychological Dominion and activate all notifications, making this your new strategic headquarters. Give this video a like as a final salute to the man you are leaving behind. And now, for your final order, a public contract with yourself. In the comments below, I want you to write the one single word that will define the new man you are forging. Will it be indifference, box, fortitude, box, 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 ox, box, 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 my deluxe box, 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 Zier, cake dominion, box, 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 declare your prime directive, and let that word be the first brick in your new empire. She didn't break your heart, she broke your chains. And the man who walks free never looks back at the prison he left behind.